Good evening, buenas tardes. This meeting of the Indio Planning Commission is now called to order. Ms. Belman, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Isiano,
Here.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Present.
Commissioner Lopez,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Franz,
Present.
Chairperson Ceja.
Present. And can we get an introduction of staff?
Kendra Reeve, Principal Planner. Lauren Sanchez, Assistant City Attorney.
Kevin Snyder, Director of Community Development.
And Jessica Belmont, Commissioner Secretary.
Thank you. And Vice, can you lead us with the pledge?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. This is time set aside for public comments, comments that are not on the agenda. But if you are here to make a public comment on the agenda, we ask that you please fill out one of the request forms and hand it over to Ms. Belman. Since we've gotten lots of requests to speak today, we want to make sure we make time for everyone. So we'd appreciate it. Are there any comments not on the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 4.1, meeting minutes. Are there any commissioners who wish to make any comments or draft any changes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for December 12th and January 11th.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Isiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes, but I'll abstain on January 11th. I was not present.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Ceja.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And we'll move on to public hearing items. Item 5.1. Can we get a staff report?
All right. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Manuel Rocha, Assistant Planner with the Community Development Department. Item 5.1 is a design review approval request for a Shy Design Consulting Corporation to allow the construction of a 3-story, 20-unit mixed-use apartment building within the downtown area. The applicant is a Shy Design Consulting Corporation. The parcel has a land use designation under the 2040 General Plan of Downtown and is zoned downtown neighborhood under the Downtown Specific Plan. Under the Downtown Specific Plan, apartments and commercial uses in the downtown neighborhood zone are a permitted use. The proposed project will consist of 20 residential units and 1 ground floor commercial space on approximately 0.34 acres. Floor plans range between 297 square feet and 1,005 square feet, with the tallest building height being 41 feet. Amenities for the residents consist of a courtyard area with a barbecue, pool, and spa. The project site is located on a vacant lot in downtown Indio along Oasis Street. Parcel numbers 611-151-017 and 611-151-018. The figure before you represents the floor plans of the proposed buildings. The development will have a total build-up area of 32,624 square feet with a floor area ratio of 18,956 square feet. The first floor will consist of 2 ADA compliant apartment units and 1 manager apartment unit. In addition, to one retail-ready unit, a barbecue pool, and spa. The first floor will also contain an entry courtyard with the water feature. The second floor will contain 3 two-bedroom units and 6 one-bedroom units, equaling a total of 9 apartment units on this floor. The third floor will contain 8 two-bedroom units and 1 one-bedroom unit, equaling a total of 9 apartment units on this floor. The mezzanine before you shows that there will be an opening in the middle. The mezzanine will now be set up for rooftop lounging. The architectural elevations reflect a modern building facade with an overall building height of 41 feet at the top of the parapet and 40 feet at the maximum roof level. Exterior finishes include metal coping, powder-coated aluminum, forward foam concrete, iron gates, and composite wood sidings. The proposed landscape areas are along the perimeter of the project site and within the apartment building open spaces. The proposed landscape consists of palms and trees, including but not limited to the Mexican fan palm and the Italian cypress. There are several shrubs proposed, including but not limited to the century plant, heavenly bamboo, and the green carpet. The proposed project is compliant with General Plan 2040. The proposed project is compliant with the downtown specific plan zoning regulations. In addition, it is covered under the prior CEQA environmental review for the downtown specific plan and for the City of Indio General Plan 2040. With the application of relevant conditions of approval, project can be approved. Conditions of approval are binding and must be adhered to. In conclusion, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2047 of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, conditionally approving design review number 2206502 for the proposed construction of a 3-story, 20-unit mixed-use apartment building with ground floor retail, ready-use commercial space on certain real properties identified as accessory parcel numbers 611-151-017 and 611-151-018, located along Oasis Street, and making a determination that no further environmental review is required as environmental impacts of the project were successfully analyzed under the Downtown Specific Plan Program Environmental Impact Report pursuant to the CEQA Guidelines Section 15168.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
I just have a couple. When you were talking about the rooftop, I kind of missed, was it going to be available for lounge or not?
No, it's not set up.
It's not. Okay. I wasn't sure which one of those I missed. The other question is we had asked for material boards so we could see like the colors and the type of material. Did we get anything like that from the applicant, or is just the pictures that we're looking at?
Yeah, so they actually also prepared their own presentation that they'll be presenting tonight.
So that'll come up then.
Yeah, but we did include the finishes.
Yeah, just those.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Commissioner Franz, I do not believe the applicant is here in person, so we do not have the material board to show to you guys tonight.
There won't be a presentation from them. I'm assuming then not online
Online.
or online they will.
Are they on?
Okay. Any other commissioner questions for staff? I have a question, Mr. Rocha. Is there electric charging capability or the ability for future installations on this project?
Good question.
I believe that they're going to be pre-wired. The conduit's going to be available, but as of right now, they're not going to be fully designed for EV charging.
But the ability will be there. For
I believe
future.
so. Yeah.
Thank you, Kendra. Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll open up for public comment or for public hearing. Is the applicant online?
No, we don't see them online.
Okay. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment or testimony?
There are none.
Okay. Then let's move into deliberation. Oh, let's close the public hearing and move into deliberation. Any comments?
since the applicant is in here, I guess I'll talk to staff. I'm a little concerned that the applicant is not here to make a presentation. Was he supposed to be on and maybe something's happened, or or were they never going to come and be before us today?
They emailed us yesterday and said that they would be in attendance, so we're not sure where they are at.
Okay.
This is the second project of this applicant in very similar way, right? So maybe
Correct,
Kendra, if there's anything that you want to on their behalf, I don't know if that's even appropriate, but we know we've seen something similar from them, and yeah.
If you'd like to issue a continuance, would that be something that we could do?
Correct. So this is Director Snyder. So the commission has several options. If you wish to hear from the applicant, you could continue the public hearing to a date and time certain. We are not certain why the applicant is not here. They may have a technical issue. So we're uncertain. They did notify us they would be here. So unfortunately, we can't answer commission's questions. So if you would like to hear from them, it's certainly within your right to request a continuance to a date certain. If you request a continuance to a date certain, there's no need for additional public noticing. If you request a continuance to a date uncertain, we would need to renotice it. So that's certainly within the Planning Commission's purview. If you would like to hear from them, and also if the commission would like to see the hard copy version of the materials board that Commissioner Franz referenced.
Kevin, can we postpone this maybe to the end of the meeting to see if maybe they are having technical difficulties and they do come up today, so we don't have to postpone it to a period certain?
So it is within the commission's purview to, in essence, put this on hold till later in the agenda. At that time, if you want to hear from them, you will need to reopen the public hearing. And at that time, you could accept comment, assuming that they join us. If not, then the commission will still have that decision in front of you, whether you want to issue a decision this evening or if you want to do a continuance action.
Chair,
Okay, yeah, please.
if I may, I would like to make a motion to request to continue this item until our next planning commission meeting on February the 8th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Isiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Seja,
No,
motion carries.
thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 5.2. Thank you.
Good evening again. For the record, my name is Manuel Rocha, Assistant Planner with the Community Development Department. So there's actually a typo. So it's agenda item 5.2. It is a design review approval request for Pacific West Communities Incorporated to allow the construction of 8 three-story apartment buildings with a total of 180 units. The applicant for the proposed project is Pacific West Communities Incorporated. The parcel has a land use designation of mixed use neighborhood under the 2040 general plan and is zoned mixed use neighborhood under the Unified Development Code. Under the Unified Development Code, multifamily dwellings uses are a permitted use in the permitted mixed use neighborhood zone. The proposed project will consist of 180 residential units on approximately 6.06 acres. Floor plans range between 517 square feet and 989 square feet, with the tallest building height being 35 feet. Amenities for the residents consist of a clubhouse with the fitness center and a community laundry room, barbecue pits with outdoor dining, a pool and spa, and a tot lot. The project site is located on a vacant lot north of Avenue 44 and west of Golf Center Parkway. Parcel numbers 692-06019 and 692-06020. These next 2 slides show photos of the current site condition. figure before you represents the site plan of the proposed project. The project will consist of 87 one-bedroom units, 48 two-bedroom units, and 45 three-bedroom units distributed across 8 three-story apartment buildings. The 8 apartment buildings will be arranged in 2 rows. Apartment buildings 1 through 6 will be oriented parallel to Avenue 44. Apartment buildings 7 and 8 will be oriented in a north-south direction of Avenue 44. The on-site parking lot for the project will contain 238 surface parking spaces comprised of uncovered and carport stalls. Within those 238 parking stalls, 7 of the on-site parking spaces will be handicap accessible and 26 will be electric vehicle charging stations, parking spaces. The main entry and exit access to the proposed development will be provided via Avenue 44. A separate right-out access onto Avenue 44 will be provided on the west side of the project site. The project will not be gated. Two additional access points will be provided for emergency vehicles, only with controlled knock box equipment. These emergency access points will be on the southeast corner of the site onto Avenue 44 and on the northeast corner of the site onto Mojave Drive. There will be amenities that will be available for the residents, such as a shared clubhouse and fitness center, a pool and spa, which will be provided in the center of the development. The common open space will also include areas designed as dog parks and tot lots. The composite plan shown before you shows the floor-to-floor layout of the proposed apartment building. There will be 4 unit types available. Unit A1 will be a 1-bedroom and 1-bath, 667 square foot unit. Unit A3 would consist of a 1-bedroom and 1-bath, 517 square foot unit. Unit B1 would consist of 2 beds and 2 baths and will be 825 square feet. And lastly, Unit C1 would consist of a 3-bed and 2-bath, 989 square foot unit. The proposed clubhouse will have a total square footage of 5,454 square feet. The clubhouse will also include a fitness center, community laundry room, mail room, club room and lobby, computer lab, and 2 office spaces. The architectural elevations reflect a modern building facade with an overall building height of 35 feet at the top of the parapet. Exterior finishes will include a light sand finished stucco, stone veneer, decorative score lines, and a metal railing. The architectural elevations reflect a modern building facade with an overall building height of 17 feet and 16 inches at the top of the parapet. Exterior finishes will also include a light sand finished stucco, stone veneer, decorative score lines, and metal railings. The proposed landscape areas are along the perimeter of the project site and within the apartment building open spaces. The proposed landscaping will be desert friendly, consisting of palms, trees, and shrubs. This will include trees such as, but not limited to, the red box, Italian stone pine, and the Italian cypress. The project will also contain several date palms throughout the project site. In addition, several shrubs are being proposed, including but not limited to the cinnabar rubble, desert gold, and Jesse gold. Here you will see renderings of the proposed project. The proposed project is compliant with General Plan 2040. The proposed project is compliant with the Unified Development Code zoning regulations. In addition, mitigation measures have been incorporated into the mitigative negative declaration and will be imposed on the proposed project through the city's adoption of a mitigation monitoring and reporting program in compliance with CEQA guidelines section 15074. With application of relevant conditions of approval, project can be approved. Conditions of approval are binding and must be adhered to. In conclusion, staff recommends that Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2049 of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, conditionally approving design review 2208508 to construct a 180 unit mixed use or 180 unit apartment building located on a 6.6 acre vacant plot of land within the mixed use neighborhood zoning district, located at the corner of Golf Center Parkway and Avenue 44. Accessor parcel numbers 692-060-019 and 692-060-020, and adopting that the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project EA 2209-565 is pursuant to CEQA guidelines 15074. In addition, staff also recommends that the inclusion of a condition of approval requiring the applicant to modify the final site plan demonstrating compliance to table 2.03.032 of the Unified Development Code specifying a maximum 25-foot front setback. Any questions?
Yeah, I'll kick off the question segment because I have.
Chair, my apologies for
Yeah.
interrupting you. I believe our Assistant City Attorney also wanted to supplement the staff report provided by Ms. Baroka, if you would allow her the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Chair. Lauren Sanchez, the Assistant City Attorney. So I think this is the first affordable housing project that's come before the commission since I've been here. So before we continue, I just wanted to provide a brief overview of the Planning Commission's obligations when reviewing affordable housing projects. As you know, a state law limits the ability of the Planning Commission to deny or condition certain affordable housing projects. The state of California considers affordable housing to be a statewide concern. So I just want to highlight a few of those limitations so that the Planning Commission can be mindful of them in your deliberations. So first off, state law explicitly prohibits discrimination against affordable housing projects based on project financing and the income level of future occupants. Second, state law limits your ability to apply non-objective standards to housing projects. And lastly, under the Housing Accountability Act, if a housing project complies with the city's objective standards, you cannot deny that project or require that it be constructed at a lower density unless you make additional written findings. You would have to find, based on a preponderance of the evidence, that the project would have a specific adverse impact on public health and safety, and that there's no feasible method to satisfactorily mitigate that impact without denying the project or requiring that it be constructed at a lower density. Specific adverse impact means significant, quantifiable, unavoidable, direct impact based on objective, written, identified standards that existed at the time the application was deemed complete. So it's a very difficult finding to make. And that said, there's additional protections in the Housing Accountability Act for housing projects that are affordable. So if there is an affordable housing project that complies with the city's objective standards, you have to make two layers of findings. You have to address threshold matters, and then you have to make the general findings that I just explained. So I know that's a lot of information. So if you do have questions going forward, please let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. And thank you. We received all of those things. So we've all had time to read. Thank you very much for being here and saying this into the public record. I have a few questions for staff. You mentioned this meets our general plan, but I'm curious what sort of features are specifically related to public transit or transportation. And my second question about it is, how does this project help us meet any of our housing element goals?
Kendra Reeve, Principal Planner. There are bus stops that are near the proposed site location that would allow for accessibility for future residents. We will also, the applicant will also be adding bike lanes to that area as well, which would encourage active transportation in the area. And this relates more to personal vehicles, but there are electric vehicle charging stations at the project site as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And the housing. Oh,
Director Snyder can answer those questions in a bit more detail.
thank you, Kendra.
Yes, Chair. So the City of Indio has a certified housing element certified by the State Housing and Community Development Department on April 20th, 2022. We had an obligation to plan for a total of 7,812 new housing units within the City of Indio from October 2021 to October 2029. Of that 7,812, 2,963 are to be affordable housing units. That does not mean that city builds those housing units, but it means we have to plan to have adequate land inventory to accommodate those needed housing units. So the introduction of 180 affordable housing units will be counted, if you will, when we annually have to report to the state our production of housing, and it will be counted towards that 2,963 affordable housing units that we were required to plan for.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions from the commissioner? For staff? No? Okay. Then we can go ahead and open the public hearing. Yes.
The applicant has also prepared a presentation.
Oh, okay. Is that with the public hearing? Yeah, okay,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, if the applicant can make a presentation, please.
Do I just kind of,
Yeah, so it's on right now.
okay,
You just flip it to the side.
and that goes to this, perfect, thank you. Good evening, Commission. Thank you very much for letting us hear our project tonight. It's an exciting time to be here. This is our third time at Planning Commission. I'm not sure if you're all aware, we're the developer that is constructing Arroyo Crossing Phase 1 and Phase 2 on Jefferson.
Excuse me, sorry, Darren, to interrupt. Can you please introduce yourself for the
Oh, I'm
record?
sorry.
Thank you.
Darren Barbarian, I'm the business developer from Pacific West Communities, Inc. Sorry, thank you. So we are the developer constructing the project there on Highway 111 in Jefferson, Phase 1 and Phase 2. This is our third project we are bringing to the city of Indio. I'm very excited about it. A little bit of background on our company. We are been around since 1999. We have real estate development. We do financing. We have in-house architecture, in-house construction, asset management, and captive insurance services. We have over 165 developments that span all over the Western United States, but primarily we're in California. We have over 10,000 affordable units. We have about another 5,000 in production. We also have some charter schools, 7 facilities, and we also have 12 commercial assets. I'm going to try not to mimic too much of Manuel. Did a fantastic job, very descriptive, but we have 180 units, 87 1 bedrooms, 48 2s, and 45 3 bedrooms. We also have 2 managers units. There will be 2 on-site managers living at the site. We have 238 parking spaces. The 3-story apartment buildings in a contemporary and timeless style. Most of the project fronts Avenue 44, which helps create a presence on the street and emphasizes the overall community and feel of the project creates. The project features amenities such as a club room, fitness center, and shared laundry facility. The clubhouse is centrally located, situated around the pool court, fronted by the club room, fitness center, creating a resort-like atmosphere. Outdoor amenities include a pool, barbecue pits with outdoor dining, and playground for kids with a play structure. Here are the same elevations that Manuel showed you of the pool by the clubhouse, shot of the leasing area, some overall elevations there as well. So we do have members of my team here. We have some present physically, and we do have some online as well. So we do have our property management group, Con-Am Property Management, who will be managing the site. I just wanted to highlight a few things. There's 129,000 people on the waiting list currently in the county of Riverside. The rent levels are from 30 to 80% AMI. So the income limits for that is between $26,400 and $70,400 that will be residing there. I did some research on the average median income from the city of Indio, and it's roughly in the $50,000 range. The rent ranges net from $444 to $1,747. And Kelly from Con-Am is here, so if there's any property management operational questions, you can ask her. But there is, right now, currently, in our market study that we just had prepared, within a 7-mile range of our site, there is 0% vacancy. And that is over 4 or 5 of them are affordable housing projects, the other 4 at market rate. I've done a lot of projects in my time. I have rarely seen 0% vacancy within a 7-mile range. So to note that the residents that are trying to obtain housing in these communities, they wait years to get in them. It is very difficult. As we all know, there's a crisis in the state. So to go through a very strenuous program to be able to reside there, and that includes credit checks, income verifications, employment verifications, background criminal checks, landlord references. It is very rigorous. The people who live there, there's a lot of pride there, because if for something happens and there's an issue and they have to leave there, it could take them years to get back in there. So just think about that for a minute. The people who are living there, these are the workforce. This is people who work in retail, restaurants, office receptionists, administrative assistants. I mean, you name it. There's a plethora of people that are in this income range that cannot afford market rate housing. So this is their opportunity to live in a quality community with all the advantages at lower rent. Our projects also create service amenities on site. I'm sorry, I'm going from here to there. My eyesight is really bad. The instructor-led educational health and wellness or skill building classes. Classes would include, but not be limited to, financial literacy, community training, home buyer education, GED, resume building, ESL, nutrition, exercise, health, information, awareness, art, parenting, on-site food cultivation and preparation, smoking cessation. So we have to provide at least 84 hours per year. And then you also have, I won't go through it all, you guys can see it. There's health and wellness, and those are at least 100 hours per year, and that's all provided on site. Now, outreach, I wanted to make sure I reached out to as many people as possible. The best way of doing that was anything that came out from the city, it was turned over to me. I received a total of 4 responses. I sent personal letters out to every resident that I was able to. And I said, please call me. Send me an email. I'll meet you in person. We could have a Zoom. I can go to your house, anything. I received 4 responses. 2 of them were, I responded to, but no response back. The other 2, I had a phone conversations, satisfied any concerns. It was more of just a discussion. And that's it. But I've been available, as the city knows, for months and months. Everybody has my phone number. Everyone has my email. No other response. Oh, and by the way, I'm also getting, tons and tons of calls and emails from Arroyo Crossing 1 and 2, people from the local community asking, when is that going to be built? When can we get on the interest list? So obviously my name and phone number is out there. Everyone is aware. I'm open at any time to discuss and sit down, walk the site, do whatever's necessary. Here's our timeline, anticipated timeline. So we're here today at Planning Commission. Based on the action here, we have our financing application that is due on February 7th. The allocation for financing, if we are successful, is the end of May. Then with that, we start construction. Typically, we pull permits about 6 months later. Construction will start in December of 2023, and it will complete in 2025. And it's anticipated for a 6 months lease up to be up and running in June of 2026. So thank you very much for your time. Like I said, I'm available for any questions, and my entire team here is here physically and virtually if needed.
Thank you. Let's see if there are any members of the public, and then they might have questions. So please stick around. We have actually lots of requests. I was about to ask if there are, but if there are any folks that want to speak on this item and have not filled out a request, please do so now. We have quite a few. Si gustan hacer un comentario, por favor, llenen una de las páginas para pedir que puedan hablar. Okay, we'll ask Mr. Juan Lopez.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
¿Se escuchan, verdad?
Sí, claro, gracias.
Sí, yo estoy ahorita por segunda vez aquí en la junta esta. Yo vivo en la 43848 Glacier Bay. Yo soy el última casa para la calle de Glacier Bay que va a salir para la 44, de Jackson 44 ahí. Yo especialmente no me beneficia a mí en nada, porque especialmente, como le dije la otra vez, la Golf Center, que tenemos una entrada ahorita para la comunidad de Bellatierra ahorita, y si se abre aquí la 44 para los apartamentos, vamos a tener mucho tráfico ahí cruzando, y especialmente para los accidentes. Hay muchos niños ahí que juegan, ahí veces ahorita juegan en las calles con los apartamentos, con los 180 apartamentos. Estamos hablando de 3 carros por apartamento. Estamos hablando de nada más por familia. Estamos hablando 540 carros ahí. Y los parqueaderos, ¿dónde van a estar los parqueaderos? Van a querer al rato usar este lado de la Bellatierra, si van a abrir ahí, porque está ahorita cerrado, ahorita está nada más está pendiente la calle esa. Pero si lo van a abrir, ¿dónde se van a parquear los 540? Y ese nomás son 3 por unidades nada más. Y si agregamos otros 50, estamos hablando casi 600 carros para ese lugar. Y los negocios que van a hacer enfrente, donde está el negocio del Chandy, de donde está la EAPM, todo eso, no pienso, ahorita se mira bien, pero no pienso que después van a hacer negocio y se va a cerrar todo eso. Y no creo que van a usar la 44 como está pasando aquí en la Jackson y entre la Monroe y la Jackson, usando la calle para estar parqueando de toda la calle ahí, y mucho peligro ahí también, porque ya los de las baicas ya se fueron más para adentro y ya no hay lugar. ¿Por qué? Porque están usando la calle para los parking ahorita. Y eso es lo que no sé. Ese lugar está bien. Yo sé que se necesita muchas viviendas aquí en el valle, accesible para la gente, porque todos tenemos familiares que están batallando con la renta. Pero hay muchos lugares, como él dijo, el Jefferson. Es un lugar donde puede estar ahí, aquí en la Jackson, la Jackson, donde les dije ahorita, en la esquina de la Jackson, hay mucho terreno ahí, no sé qué van a hacer ahí. Hay lugares donde se puede hacer, pero este terreno es un terreno pequeño, va a estar pueden ser hasta 5 o 6 pisos si quieren, pero lo que estamos hablando aquí de los parking de los carros, eso es lo que estamos hablando. ¿Dónde van a caber tanto en un lugar pequeño?
Gracias, señor López. Disculpe, lo voy a tener que cortar. Tenemos muchas personas que van a dar comentarios.
Sí,
Muchas gracias por su comentario.
Gracias.
La señora Adriana Rivera.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Chairperson Rodriguez Ceja, Vice Chairperson, other commissioners. I'm very glad to be here with y'all today. My name is Adriana Rivera, in my community, simply known as Adri or Adri. I am here in favor of this project. Sí te entiendo, señor. Hay otras veces donde yo he venido a apoyar un proyecto y los vecinos las personas de esa vecinidad puede ser problemático por ellos, pero le pido que puedes mirar el beneficio por todos, aunque le va a costar un poco. As a young professional working off of Dr. Carrion Boulevard in Indio, I began my journey as a renter in 2019, deciding between Monte Azul and Watercrest Apartments. I had to roll out Smoke Tree Apartments because I was making $20,000 salary a year, and I could not afford those apartments. Ultimately, my good credit score and my roommate's nonprofit salary was enough to support us to sign a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom lease for $1,250 per month. After a recent renovation, I've heard that those same apartments are now going for double that amount, so nearly $2,500 for a 2-bed, 2-bath in Indio. And to think that's at the same property that's located at 82013 Dr. Carrion Boulevard. That address was previously Section 8 housing, also known as federal low-income housing. So within my lifetime, that's gone from something that used to be affordable housing and is now way out of range. Indio desperately lacks affordable housing, is what I'm saying. And people need options close to where they work. I specifically chose Dr. Carrion to search for my apartment because that's where I worked. In a physical therapy office, I love what I do and having that convenience. So we can't benefit from the workforce labor of folks that work at Fantasy Springs Casino, at Home Depot, at Winco. If they're there servicing us, we also have to welcome them as neighbors. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Alejandro Mesa Aguilar.
Hi, I'm Alejandro Mesa Aguilar. I'm here to support the Avenue 44 apartments. I work with ICIJ, the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice, and I'm here to support Live to Rise on this venture because having affordable housing is a human right, especially since we live in a county where we ended up in the news a couple months ago. I don't know if you guys saw that article in regards to rent prices in California, Riverside being one of the highest ones, alongside LA and San Diego. And because tourism is the backbone of our community and people really depend on, the service jobs that there are within their community, it is essential to have these affordable homes so people can, live their lives just like, the previous speaker said. We really need to focus on having access to affordable rent. That way, we can ensure a future for community members, not just focusing on, small things like parking. Parking is always an issue that we'll always face, and we can fix through parking structures and specific areas or other measures such as, street light or roundabouts, parking enforcement. There's more than one way to tackle that kind of issue, but there's very few methods to, tackling head-on affordable housing. This being one of the few. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesús Ortega.
How you doing? My name is Jesus Ortega. I live on Mojave Drive. I don't want the project. It's going to cause an excess amount of cars in my area. I'm concerned about that street right where my neighbor. He's right in the corner. There's an empty lot. That lot is awfully small to cram in all those apartments. Not to mention, what are they going to do with all the cars? Are they going to start bringing these cars onto Mojave Drive in my area? Where once a month we have street parking. So you're going to have a gang of people parked on the street across from my house that don't live there. God knows how much crime that's going to bring. If you got low income housing, we're trying to escape crime ridden areas. We've worked hard to make an honest living and finally have something nice for our families. So you guys are trying to bring in crime to our neighborhoods. All it's going to do is going to depreciate our house, our home values, not to mention all the excess traffic getting onto Golf Center Parkway. When it rains, the wash on 44, they close the wash every time it rains good and hard. And now we're going to have that blocked off, trying to get into Old North Indio. We're talking parking. We're talking crime. Once a month, they have the street parking or street sweeping in our neighborhood where your code enforcement officers are sitting here charging people $89. So am I going to get home from work and somebody's going to be parked in my area or worse? God knows they're going to start stealing gas. They're going to do whatever they have to do to get by. I don't want this development. There's plenty of other areas where they can put these homes. These apartments right off of Jackson, right across from Home Depot. As soon as you cross the bridge where the armory is at, there's plenty of empty land with lots of space. We're pretty much in a crammed up area. If you do that, not only that, you're looking at it's kind of like a commercial. You got Fantasy Springs Casino, you got that AM PM. I would like to see businesses. Something that gives something to the community, not you trying to fulfill your agenda or trying to bring a bunch of people from God knows what other areas. And then pretty soon we're going to have a gang of crime. I don't want that. I don't want it for me or for my family. You understand me? It's easy for you to sit there and pencil away. Oh, we need to cram all these people in this smaller area. Why don't you pick a different area where there's a lot more land? Like down the street on 44 going towards the Riverside County dump. There's plenty of open land. Not to mention, we have Terra-Lago down the street. Do you honestly think these people that have a decent, nice home, they want to be around this kind of
Mr. Ortega,
traffic?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off. There's lots of folks that want to give public comment. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
coming and talking to us today. Martin Gil?
Hello, my name is Martin Gill. I support the construction of these apartments. I'm a resident of Indio, and I personally know the struggles of looking for affordable housing. I'm not a criminal, but I do know that we have a need for affordable housing. I would suggest that the city makes the necessary changes to infrastructure to deal with the needs of the surrounding communities, but not at the expense of apartments that residents in Indio are in need of today. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Kayla Atkins? Kayla? Okay, I'll hold. Karen Borja?
Good afternoon, Commission and staff and community members. My name is Karen. I am a homeowner resident of the city of Indio. And if I'm being honest, it's very sad to hear Indio residents talk about other Indio residents in this way. I started off as a renter here in the city of Indio, and then I became a renter again, and then I became a homeowner. And the reason why I was able to buy my home is because I was able to rent first. It's also very disheartening to hear these issues around circulation and traffic, knowing that this body here, present and past, is responsible for traffic and circulation with staff and city council. And it is even more disheartening that you're somewhat pitting us against each other every time you fail to bring about good traffic, bridges, infrastructure into our communities. We've had countless conversations around Measure X and Measure E and what those transportation dollars are having and should be bringing into our community. Yet here we are having a conversation around housing RHNA numbers that the state has imposed on us and it getting conflated with traffic. Those are not the same conversations. One is a responsibility and a requirement that the city must fulfill, not just because the state asks you to do it, but because it's the right thing. If you have read through the public comments that were submitted in writing, you will see very intense stories of people who were born and raised in Indio, people who are living in studio apartments, people who are renting, people who have rented and have paid exorbitant amounts of money, but then later on become homeowners and other things. People who are living in their family's garages. On Miles Avenue, where I live, every home has a detached garage, and there are plenty of folks who have converted their detached garages into housing, not because people want to lose parking, but because people need housing. And so these 180 units won't solve our problem, but they will start alleviating some of the housing burdens that the city of Indio has. My last comment is that we need more projects like this. We really do need you all to continue to ask staff, to continue to ask them to push to bring other housing developments that are apartment-like, that are ADU units, and that are not necessarily starter homes, right? Where you're hearing from lots of people, the way they started in Indio is by being renters. If we want to keep the college-going population and we want to welcome them back, they need housing. People want to move out of their parents' homes when they come back, when they get a job, when they start making some money. We want to stay in Indio. Thank you.
Thank you. Ana Vargas?
Hello, good evening, members of the commission, community. I was going to do my public comment in Spanish, but now that I've heard, I just to reiterate what Karen said, it is super disheartening. And I mean, I'm very emotional right now, so I apologize. if I come across that way, but I am a community resident of Indio. I am a community organizer for Communities for New California Education Fund. I'm also a newly appointed co-chair for the resident leadership table with Live to Rise. And I'm here on behalf of my community, on behalf of countless people I've spoken to, neighbors, friends. And I think when the last RHNA cycle, Indio did a great job prioritizing housing for above moderate income. Over 90% of the housing was devoted to single family housing, single family homes. But less than 10% was devoted to affordable housing. Less than 10%. Y como dijo el compañero, la vivienda es un derecho humano. Housing is a human right. We all deserve dignified housing. Doesn't matter if our skin color, doesn't matter our income level, doesn't matter our credit. We should all have that right. Why are we putting more of a burden on our communities? It's 60% of your renters in the city of Indio are suffering from rent burden, and a third of those are suffering from severe rent burden. That means that over 50% of their income just to pay rent. That's ridiculous. These people have families, they have children, they have elderly, they have sick. Please, and I implore you, have some compassion. We all deserve to live in a dignified manner. And it's time that Indio, I'm counting on this commission and the city council to put Indio in that right direction. Because over years, I've seen Indio, they're not prioritizing the needs of working families time and time again. We keep coming here with parks and like we said, there's so many solutions, roundabouts. That's your job, to figure it out, to find solution. But don't do it at the cost of families that deserve dignified housing. Don't do that, please. Because we're going to be here. We're here to stay. We are the communities that are working hard, that make Indio run. If it wasn't for us, nobody, we wouldn't have all the gated communities. We're tired of that. We need to have inclusion. We need to have tolerance for others, unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And I just want to leave you with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vanessa Moreno.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Vanessa Moreno, Coachella Programs Manager with COFEM, a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering low-income communities. I am also a resident of Indio. I am here in support of the construction of Avenue 44 apartments. Coming from a multi-general household and working directly with families who are rent burdened, affordable housing is a must. As the city of Indio population continues to increase and as households continue to fall under extreme low-income category, one immediate solution is to build and allow affordable housing projects to be developed. The city of Indio has a regional housing needs allocation commitment to accommodate more units for their residents. The Avenue 44 apartments is the opportunity to adopt this commitment and help our city's families thrive and improve their quality of life. I hope you are able to approve this project and help it move forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Roy Arias.
I'm Roy Arias. I'm here again in front of you to speak against this project. The way Ms. Sanchez explained it almost sounds like you have to approve this no matter what. But one thing she said is it's only if there's an issue of health and safety at stake. And I think that's an issue right here. I think us as a surrounding neighborhood, our health and safety is an issue here. There's a quality of life issue with the impact of having 816 people put in front of us, 3-story buildings blocking our views, reducing the value of our homes, 133 people per acre. That's just insane. There's no place on the world that has that much density. This is just insane. Our neighbors, they've spoken about the impact to our our streets. We just had Avenue 44 blocked off because of the rain. All the traffic gets shoved down on the Gulf Center Drive. Can't get on the freeway in the morning, can't get off in the evening. This is just not a good plan. The traffic on I-10, the wash, there's no walkability for these apartments. The heights block our view. It's going to lower our home values. It's going to be crime like Jesus speaks about. Where else? Of course we need this housing, but can we put more along 111, along I-10, places that you can get to all your stores, like near Walmart, near Winco, these places, anything along 111 where the buses are out here on a regular basis. Our buses never really serve Gulf Center or Avenue 44 very often. Commercial zones are now legal for converting to multiple housing. This lot was a neighborhood commercial lot originally. Supposed to be small shops like La Paloma Restaurant. That's what we need, little neighborhood businesses, stuff like that. If we need housing, make it something. Senior citizens housing, assisted living. Cathedral City just built this Veterans Village, 60 units on about a lot the same size, much less density, and just a nice little project. It's really a monstrosity being dropped right in our neighborhood. We need housing. This isn't the way to do it. We need to put it somewhere else where it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Blas Gutierrez.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Blas Gutierrez, resident of the city of Indio. I also was a renter for several years in a place that can easily be described as sketchy. And I think inviting something that is a far better quality of a housing stock anywhere in our community is the right place for a development of this nature. In addition to the state mandates and the housing element mandates that were outlined earlier, I think this is an important contribution to Indio's commitment to affirmatively further fair housing, which are embedded in federal, state, and housing element law. In a very simple nutshell, the idea is that anyone should have the ability to live in any neighborhood of any city. And that means providing a variety of different types of housing stock in each and every single neighborhood. This is a community that is desperately lacking in that type of an amenity. And it would go a tremendously long way. Those 180 units is not insignificant towards meeting those obligations that Indio really has not met. Yes, the traffic is an issue, and that's something that we all have to deal with. It is something that this is, it's great that this is the place that those issues are being brought up. This is exactly the body who can address some of those concerns, and they ought to be. I would very happily, stand with any of these residents and, try to work out some of that as well. But the truth is that this is something that is appropriate in this place at this time. I know also that what is being said about the concerns of criminality coming into the neighborhood would be a disqualifying subjective determination for this group to consider. However, I will say, as someone who has represented a variety of persons in different subsidized housing communities in eviction proceedings, it is my personal experience that more often than not, housing management companies tend to over police residents. And it's not uncommon, for example, that the sins of the grandson should later on be used to evict an entire family, even though nobody knew what was going on in the parking lot. It is a very, very stringent criteria that I know housing developers and management companies don't mess around with. The slightest hint of criminal activity would very likely be used to disqualify people from living there. It's a false equivalency. I just want to put that out there, even though I know that that cannot be used to negate this application. And so I ask you to approve this application. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Maria Cordova.
Sí, mi nombre es María Gurrola. Y yo creo que si las personas tienen oportunidad de tener sus casas, tienen su garage, y las personas que necesitamos un departamento digno para vivir, creo que nos lo merecemos también. Gracias.
Gracias. Ángel González.
Good evening. I think there's a little misunderstanding here. Me and I live in the community next to where they're proposing the project, and I think me and my neighbors are not against building affordable housing. By all means, I think it's needed. It's just that is not the right location. It's like my neighbor said, it's 180 units at least at a minimum. That's 360 vehicles. I mean, I was here the first meeting and it got this topic got postponed. I was told that we were going to get a notice just to let all the homeowners know, and never got anything on the mail, never got any notifications. So I think, I don't know if we're trying to do this project, without letting everybody who would be affected or would letting them know. But I was never notified. I never received the notice that was supposedly was going to be sent. I found out about this meeting because it was in the news yesterday. I know my neighbor's been involved. He's been letting us know, but I don't think a lot of my neighbors know about what's going on, what the plan is. Again, by all means, let's build affordable housing, but that is not the right place. Traffic, it is an issue. The streets are very narrow. There's been a few accidents. So now with another, and I'm saying 360 vehicles because let's say two per apartment. It's you're gonna start having the same issue as the apartments on Van Buren. People parking across the street, parking on the businesses, on the empty lots. It's not a good scenario. There's plenty other rooms. I think if the developer or the city puts a little bit more thought into it and find a better spot, more open, closer to stores, supermarkets. I mean, I think you guys will find a better spot, a better place for a building like this, an apartment complex like this. Let's be realistic. I mean, we talk about crime and stuff. When I moved into Indio, I rented. I was a renter. I did not like the life in an apartment complex. I mean, you take, for example, the apartments in Arabia, Requa. Unfortunately, they have a bad reputation. And we don't want that. I went to school, bettered myself, got another job, and now I'm able to afford a nice house. And I moved across the freeway for the same reason, to kind of stay, away from the crowded area, the city. And those houses value has increased a lot. And then building this complex, I'm afraid that the value of my property is gonna go down. I mean, would you guys? I don't know where you guys live, but would you just put yourself in our shoes? Would you want this apartment complex right next, literally on the other side of the wall of your house? It's, on our complex, it's just one way in and one way out, by building like they're proposing, opening the other street into the complex.
Mr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cut you off. Thank you for your comment. Kayla Atkins. Kayla Atkins. She left. Okay. Margarita Sanchez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Margarita Sánchez y yo vengo ¿cómo les diré la palabra? Como ahorita que está el apoyo de que nos pueden dar una vivienda porque nos están desalojando y desearemos tener un lugar donde vivamos con nuestros hijos. Esto es gracias.
Gracias a usted. Linda Andrade. Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda Andrade. I'm from Indio, and I'm a resident. I recently moved to Bermuda Dunes. Living in affordable housing could benefit my mom and I since she is a single mother. We recently moved out of the house we were renting in Indio because rent was too high and we could no longer afford it. My mom also had to work more than one job due to the lack of affordable housing, and which took time away from her. I support this new affordable housing development because we could move back to Indio, the city I grew up in, and to the school I go to, and not to struggle to make ends to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Valeria Camacho.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Valeria Camacho y soy residente de Indio. Cuando mis papás se mudaron para acá, mi mamá se separaron. Y mi papá se quedó con el apartamento y solo. Y tuvo problemas para pagar la renta y tuvo que agarrar dos trabajos al mismo tiempo. Estuvo manteniendo a mí y a mi hermano. Y por eso así es por eso que yo apoyo este programa. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a usted. Yereida or Yereidi.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Geraldine Ortega. Yo vivo en los apartamentos de Indio y entre Arabia y Jonobles, los apartamentos 82451. Nos están desalojando de los apartamentos, cambiaron de dueños. Lo que queremos es que nos den más tiempo para podernos salir de ahí, porque las rentas en todos lugares está más alta. Todos vivimos como 5 o 6 personas en apartamentos para poder pagar una renta. Entonces, queremos que nos ayuden a lo mejor para tener más tiempo para podernos salir, porque no hemos encontrado un lugar donde podamos pagar todos los de los apartamentos, porque la renta es muy alta para todos nosotros. La mayoría trabajamos en jardín, trabajan en el campo, trabajamos construcción diferente, pero no tenemos el sueldo para poder pagar un apartamento y llevarnos a nuestras familias. Tenemos niños chicos que hasta ahorita ya están como traumados de que se tienen que salir de donde ellos nacieron, donde ellos ven su casa. Yo en mi casa mi madre está deshabilitada, mi hermano está deshabilitado. Si en el tiempo del proceso de 31 de marzo que nos dan para salir, si no encuentro un lugar donde llevarme a mi familia, tengo que irme, como quien dice, a la calle o bajo de un puente. Entonces, estamos de acuerdo con los que hagan más apartamentos que podamos nosotros poder pagar, porque todo lugar, todo subió, comida, renta, todo ya es muy pesado para todos poder pagar algo. No sé, tal vez no me sé explicar, tal vez me entiendan un poco de lo que quiero hablar, pero ocupamos más apartamentos para poder que nosotros, la gente que ganamos poco, podamos pagar y poder meter nuestras familias ahí. Si nos pueden ayudar, por favor, con lo de que nos están desalojando del lugar donde es como mi casa. Tenemos 21 años viviendo ahí. De la noche a la mañana nos llegaron con él. Se tienen que salir de los apartamentos. Ahora todo el mundo se nos cerró la puerta porque tenemos que trabajar y no podemos dejar de trabajar porque tenemos que darles de comer a nuestra familia. Entonces, si dejamos de trabajar, no podemos pagar algo, sea la comida, sea nuestra renta. Entonces, si ustedes nos pueden ayudar, ya sea encontrar un apartamento que podamos pagar o algo más económico, algo donde podamos meter a toda nuestra familia. Si nos pueden ayudar con eso, por favor, estamos a favor de que hagan más apartamentos de bajo recurso, porque no hay, ya hemos buscado, todos son 1,500, 1,800, más renta, de luz, comida, no podemos pagar eso. O sea, si nos pueden ayudar, no les vamos a agradecer mucho en eso, porque no tenemos realmente dónde meter a nadie. Mi mamá está ciega, mi hermano está deshabilitado, tengo un sobrino, tiene 1 año. Si me sacan de ahí al tiempo que ellos nos dieron, no sé dónde los voy a llevar. Yo soy casi como quien dice cabeza de familia. Si no encuentro un lugar donde yo pueda pagar para poder entrar, no sé dónde los voy a llevar. Por favor, consideren los apartamentos que están haciendo. Yo entiendo que todos es un negocio, sus casas, sus de esos, pero habemos mucha gente que no podemos pagar una renta muy alta. Si pueden considerar, por favor, eso.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas
Gracias. Y la escuchamos y la entendemos. Gracias. Blanca Trinidad.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Blanca Trinidad. Perdón.
estoy a favor a que hagan más apartamentos, porque hay familias que ocupamos, que hasta hay familias más humildes que uno que tienen niños chiquitos y ahorita con este problema no tienen a dónde ir. Yo, gracias a Dios, mis hijos ya están más grandes, pero ahorita todavía ocupan ayuda porque están estudiando. Y ahora con esto, con los apartamentos, queremos que sigan teniendo más apartamentos donde pueden ir. Yo entiendo a los señores que a lo mejor les va a molestar más el tráfico, pero gracias a Dios ellos tienen una casa, ¿verdad?, que pueden pagar. Y habemos familias que no podemos, que ocupamos más apartamentos de bajos recursos. Y por favor, que apoyen este programa para hacer más apartamentos. Gracias.
Gracias a usted. Blanca.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Blanca Bañuelos y yo vengo apoyando el proyecto de las casas de los apartamentos, de bajos ingresos. Por como dicen los vecinos, mucha gente tiene dinero para pagar una casa, gracias a Dios, pero nosotros no tenemos esa oportunidad. Y en todos los apartamentos que va uno son de 2,400. Es mucho para uno. Nosotros no tenemos ese ingreso para pagar un apartamento digno para nuestras familias. Y apoyamos el proyecto de esos apartamentos de bajos ingresos. Gracias.
Gracias a usted. Blanca García.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Blanca García y yo vengo apoyando a favor de este proyecto de los apartamentos. Yo soy una de las afectadas. Como dicen los señores, ellos están preocupando por un tráfico, por dónde se va a parquear el carro. Yo estoy preocupada por dónde voy a meter a mis hijos a vivir, una vivienda donde darles a mis hijos. Y yo pienso que si apoyan más proyectos de estos, uno tiene la posibilidad de llevar a nuestra familia a vivir a un lugar. Ahorita, desgraciadamente, como dicen, todo está alto de nuestro presupuesto de nosotros. Ellos, qué bueno, ¿verdad? Que tienen su casa, tienen dónde vivir, pero ellos están preocupando ahorita por un tráfico, que porque se va a hacer mucho tráfico. Yo me estoy preocupando por darles un techo a mis hijos, ¿verdad? Es todo. Gracias.
Gracias a usted. Olga Reyes. Olga Reyes. No. Gracias.
Hi, my name is Olga Reyes, and I live on Avenue 44 and Aztec, the corner house. The project that they want to make, the housing, the apartments, is in my backyard. It's going to lower the value of the house, which is not an expensive house to begin with. The traffic, like the people saying, people trafficking, the parking, it's just a lot of things there. It's not going to look nice. It's 3 stories high. And I don't think anybody wants a 3-story building in the backyard. And this is what it's going to be. They're taking away our privacy because they can look down into our yard. And my houses and the houses over here, it isn't right. There's a lot of places they can build. They should have built houses, low-income houses there. That would have been better, but not a 3-story apartment complex. And I hear people saying that they're struggling, and I understand that. We are going through hard times. But when we were young, we struggled to buy, to get somewhere. And that's just the way of life. They can build the project somewhere else. This is not a place for it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some comments online. And Ms. Milman, it would be good if we could just make a count. We received lots of comments over email. If we could just make a count, how many were in favor and how many were opposed to the project, we would appreciate that.
Online, I have 8 people that would like to make public comment. Also, written comments were received and distributed to the commissioners and posted on the City of Indio's website.
Thank you.
For our first public comment, we have Claudia Armenta.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Citlali Armenta, and I am a resident of the City of Indio, and I am in support of this project. I am a full-time student, and at one point, I actually had 4 jobs to be able to meet this current housing market. This is not okay. It was very difficult for myself to be able to jump from being a full-time student to be able to work 4 jobs, to be able to meet the current housing market. I unfortunately had to, for my well-being, I had to let go of my apartment. From after that, I had to jump around to different apartments, and I realized that there isn't much here in the City of Indio. There isn't many affordable housing. So I am in support of this project. This will benefit so many families that are working class, that we contribute to the city, that we are students, that we are just trying to have a place to live, have quality living. Because of my income, I feel that I should not be limited to having quality living. I am not a criminal, and I do not deserve to live near a dump. I feel that this will benefit so many community members, so many families, that we are just trying to have a home. Thank you.
Next public comment is John Wells.
Good evening. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I am a resident of North Indio, Aliante. So my concern was 2 things. Well, actually a couple things, but one was we were never notified of this project. We actually, as residents of our HOA, found out about this by the news. So I'm a little bit miffed by that, because the gentleman said he reached out to all the residents in the area. We live 300 feet down the street from this. No notification. Secondly, you know, North Indio is a single family home development area. There's no apartments, there's no 3-story buildings other than the casino. Now, it doesn't line up with the project of all the HOAs out here. I have no problem with low-income housing. I don't have a problem with apartments. I do have a problem with the density, the 3-story. I think if they wanted to build something there, it should be 2-story and smaller. There are plenty of undeveloped land areas down 44 in central Indio next to apartments that can be developed with apartments that are just as large or even bigger. And in addition to that, most of the other people have commented tonight. I'm hearing a lot of people who are not residents of North Indio commenting about needing it. I agree with them, it's needed, but the residents of North Indio should the board should be concerned with the residents that are living here first and their commentary, and they basically have been avoided. And secondly, the Lift to Rise girl that said something about, you know, get rid of the HOA communities. HOA communities are great. My community is 60% or higher Hispanic. It is a multicultural community. This is not, HOAs are not a bunch of white people sitting in there drinking wine and laughing at all the Hispanics and Black people going to work. That is ridiculous. HOA communities are just as nice and just as affordable. When we bought our homes, they were in the 300s. Okay, this is an affordable area. Let's build single family homes that have been the theme out here. Move the apartments down to central Indio, far away, down Indio. They don't even have to go that far. Make tons of apartments, tons of low-income apartments. Right there in that corner is just not a good spot. And if you want to continue with that, I think the plan should be redesigned to take into account the density, reduce it down to 2 stories and make it smaller. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next public comment, Austin Yak.
Good evening. My name is Austin Yak, and I'm a resident of North Indio, right off of Avenue 44. My fiance and I actually just purchased a home a few months ago, and one of the reasons why was because of the community that we thought we were moving into was up and coming, but also safe. And the focus on what I want to talk about with safety is not talking about low income. I'm actually for low income communities. I believe that it's necessary, and I think that the commission should do everything possible to get low income communities into the city. But this specific area is not the best spot for it. We're talking 6 acres. You guys want to propose bike lanes, and we're next to a freeway. So you want to have over 300 people living in this community on the corner of Avenue 44 and Golf Center. And I really want you guys to go to the police station, find out how many incidents are on the corner of Avenue 44 and Golf Center with car accidents, because since we've moved in, at least twice a month, we see car accidents, and a lot of them are fatal. And that is right where you want to put a 3-story community with over 300 people living there. So I'm worried about the safety in the aspect of the traffic. And when you have people that are trying to get onto a freeway and you have bike lanes, and in reality, this is going to be, it's already a busy intersection, and now it's going to make it so that it's nearly impossible to really even get over to La Quinta. So the city of Indio urges people to move to the city, and you guys are putting a lot of money into building up Indio. Well, here we are, we move to your city a few months ago thinking that we bought into something with single family homes in an area that allows us to grow our family and be in a safe community where we can go out and be able to not be worried about getting hit by a car. And that's what's going to happen when you have so many people. It is so dense in that area. It's going to be nearly impossible to really leave when we're talking that many people in one specific area. So I feel strongly that that section should be for small businesses, and it should allow people that are in Terra-Lago and other communities to be able to have a place of gathering and not a place where it's going to be an additional 300 people. I mean, when you walk down Avenue 44, I urge the commission to walk down Avenue 44, see all the dogs that are walking on 44 by Terra-Lago, all of those dogs. When now we're talking 300 people, cars and everything else. There are so many things that you guys have not thought about, and 6 acres is not enough. So I urge that, yes, so I urge that you guys really consider taking the project elsewhere. There's a lot of land, and this is just not a feasible spot. Thank you. Can't do that to me.
Next public comment is Joel Wheeler.
Oh, I was just going to say the fire station. That was another thing I didn't.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So thank you, Chairman and commissioners, for allowing me to speak tonight. I just want to share a little story, but my wife and I moved our family here about a year ago, and we're pretty close to where you're proposing to build or or allow to be permitted to build this apartment complex. We had a choice when we moved here. We had a choice between La Quinta, Palm Desert, Rancho Mirage, even Palm Springs, and we chose Indio, and specifically North Indio. It is an upcoming community. It's nice. It is not crowded with apartments. It is heavy on the HOA side, and that's kind of what we chose here. Now, in saying this, I think everybody realizes there is a necessity for low-income housing. And, we were all young once. Some of the folks that talked here today are young, going through school. It would be beneficial. It's just not the right spot where you're talking about. So as such, we are opposed to this project. And then I wanted to comment when the individuals that were proposing and given a summary of what they were proposing, one of the people's like, hey, we're going to put a bike lane in. Well, a bike lane is hardly going to help traffic issues for a 180 unit complex. And like the gentleman before me said, that doesn't equate to 180 people. That's probably closer to 300 people, multiple vehicles. Indio's on the map as a community of the lower desert. It hasn't always had that reputation. It was kind of the community that had the black eye, and that reputation has really turned around. And one of the main reasons we were like, yeah, we'll buy an Indio. Let's look at that. There's a Palm Desert bike group that rides right down Gulf Center Parkway every Saturday as part of their route. I can't imagine what a complex of that size with that kind of traffic is going to do to that. So I guess there's a lot of things that need to be considered as well. What does it do to property value? I can't imagine it goes up. So I guess what I'm going to ask is that you please look at an alternative place for this community. It is needed. I empathize with those folks that want it. I agree with it. I just don't agree with it going there. Thank you for your time tonight.
Next public comment is Christina Desjardins.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission and staff. My name is Christina Desjardins, and I'm the attorney for Aliante India, which is a homeowners association roughly 1 block away from the proposed apartment complex. We understand that there are legal constraints on the Planning Commission in relation to the project, but Aliante has several concerns about the proposed apartments. First, all of the surrounding neighborhoods are single-family home developments. Constructing 8 large 3-story apartment buildings in this location would be completely out of character with these surrounding neighborhoods. As other members of the public have stated, this is just not the right location. There are numerous other vacant lots in Indio that are just a few miles away and that are more suitable for this type of construction. There are a number of empty lots next to existing apartment buildings on Avenue 44 between Jackson and Monroe, as well as near Monroe and Highway 111. These lots are also near commercial shopping areas and other amenities. In addition, this modern aesthetic of the apartments does not fit in with the architecture of the surrounding neighborhoods, which have a more traditional style. There are also concerns that have already been stated here tonight regarding the density of the project and the inevitable parking challenges that will result. Finally, contrary to applicant's statement, there has been no attempt to involve Aliante in relation to this major development project, which would undoubtedly impact its residents. Aliante feels that it has been left out of this process entirely. In closing, the association respectfully requests that the Planning Commission preserve the character of the surrounding residential areas and deny this application or otherwise address the concerns raised here this evening. Thank you.
Next public comment is Velasquez.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I also oppose to the proposal that you guys are doing for the apartments. I am not against the low income apartment. I am, however, against the location. And I think that's what everybody is misunderstanding. We're not against low income apartments. We are against the location and the size of the apartments that are going up in the tiny location that you guys want to put it. Jefferson and Indio Boulevard has a huge empty lot where they're putting up McDonald's and I don't know what else they're putting up over there, but that would have been a perfect location for low-income apartments. And that's all I have to say. It's not that we're against low-income apartments, it's that we are against the location of where the city wants to build the low-income apartments. Thank you.
Next public comment is from Liliana Garcia.
Girl, bro. Yeah, just as, how the last person was saying, and we live here by Montevina. We just purchased our home here. And just like everybody else is saying, we're not against the program. We're all for the help for, low-income apartments and their families. We understand everybody goes through the struggle. With all due respect, I mean, we heard on here, somebody said that they let the residents know. We didn't get notified. Like everybody else is saying, we got informed by the news and, it's just the wrong location. That's all I have to say.
Next public comment is from Edgar.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, my name is Edgar Carbona. I'm here with my wife, and I'm also from the Aliante community. We were also not notified about this project. We heard it like everybody else on the news. We like everybody here talking, we are not against low income housing. I believe this town hall meeting was to voice why we don't think it's a good idea to be built in that area. And I think all the local residents are stating the facts about traffic, about the density, the 3-story building, but I haven't really heard any reasons why it should be built in that specific area. There's plenty of spaces like everybody has mentioned down the street, other parts of India where it could be built, but I haven't heard any good reasons given why that specific area is the best area for that project. We're all in for low income housing, but yeah, that is just not the right place to do it. And the person that stated about the accidents, there has been multiple accidents in that corner, and it's you add those 300 vehicles, and it's just going to be like accident after accident after accident. So, I mean, I agree with everything everybody else has said. To all the local residents, we never got a letter, we never got a call, we never got an email. This is not the way to do this project. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment is from Brianna Rodriguez.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Brianna Rodriguez. I am a resident of the new community Montevina Community Association. I am an active member on our association board. I would like to first and foremost thank everyone's opinions regarding this matter. It is concerning the back and forth going about low income, this location, when the key thing is, yes, we're trying to join everyone in this community and make sure everyone has a place to live. But I agree with majority of everyone's public speaking about where this property is supposed to be made. It's in the wrong location. I'm all for low income housing. Me and my husband started off from scratch. We did not get things handed to us. We worked our butts off to get to where we're at. And I will honestly give the shirt off my back to somebody. That's how much I care about people. But for that location is a bad location for low income housing, for people who live around in that surrounding area. There was a recent incident that happened at the gas station at Arco. So it's not only for the safety of people living there, it is for the safety of the low income housing too as well. So I think I formally, after hearing everyone, I was undecided as to how I felt about this situation, but weighing out the pros and cons because I feel like everyone deserves a fair chance to be heard. Me and my husband are not with this this plan. Like I said, all for low income housing, but definitely not in that location. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment is by Perla Rivas.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to let you guys know that I oppose the new housing, low income housing, not because it's low income. It's just like everybody else is saying, it's the wrong location. I live in the Aliante community and it's a lot of traffic as it is. And now adding 300 plus people, so many cars, there's accidents there all the time. So I feel like it's nothing against low income apartments. You know, we all struggled. I lived in low income apartments growing up. It's good. It's the wrong location. And I didn't know that this was happening until my neighbor forwarded me an email, and we were not aware of this. So yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment is by Ruby Olveria.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruby Olvera, and I'm calling in support for this affordable housing project for many reasons, primarily as somebody that has been a resident and grown up here for the past 20 years, 17 of those for which my family and I were renters. It is really difficult to find affordable housing, and I know that it is challenging even now. I hope one day my siblings will be able to continue to grow up here and live here in Indio. But there are also other facts, including that more than 60% of renters in Indio are rent burdened. We know there is a huge need. We know the population is expected to increase by over 43% in the next 20 years. And we also know that the development of this affordable housing also provides stability for many families who experience instability currently. So the developers have done their due diligence, I think, to meet the needs of Indio residents. And I think it's important for us to act now to make sure that we're taking care of our community. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment is by Angie.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Gutierrez. My wife is Angelica Gutierrez, and we are members of the Aliante community. First of all, I want to thank you for the time to hear all of our community's concerns. Like everybody here is saying, we are not against low income. Actually, I want to applaud the city of Indio for taking the initiative to bring low-income and affordable homes to the city of Indio. Being part of a low-income family myself, it is a great opportunity to provide low-income homes to all the families in need. However, being right next to a 3-story building that does not coincide with the existing architecture of our current community might not be the best interest of the city of Indio and the neighbors right next door. Like everybody else said, we have plenty of land that can be developed here in Indio that can be definitely a great place for these proposed plans. Additionally, as a member of the Aliante community right now, traffic is already a problem with the very little traffic that we have from Tierra Lago, Casablanca, and the surrounding homes. We kindly ask that you maybe present other options for these 6 acres of land that maybe bring additional amenities to the families that are living within this community and have been living here for the last 5 or more years. Again, we oppose this development. Again, not against low-income families, but the location, and we would love to see future plans for a different location of these plans and to have future comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment is by Elisa Pulido.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi. Good evening. My name is Elisa Pulido and I live in the Aliante community. I have been living in Indio for the past 10 years. We moved out from a different area. We've been in San Diego, LA County, and we ended up deciding to stay in the Indio area. And, as a former renter, I agree with affordable housing. That's, I have nothing against it. I'm, currently living here in a single family home. But I do disagree with the location that this complex is going to be built. If I don't know if you guys have gone through and done assessments, which you guys probably have about traffic, but within the past month, there have been at least 2 or 3 traffic accidents at that corner of Golf Center and Avenue 44, where the city had to go in maybe about 2 weeks ago and they restriped Avenue 44. They had to do restriping on that road off of Avenue 44 where the complex is going to go. So my concern is, yes, I agree, and I empathize with all of the members that are coming in and are requesting affordable housing and are in support of it. But there are definitely other places, other land areas where this complex would be a better use in that location. It's just been terrible, the accidents that have happened there at that corner. One of the cars, which I saw when it happened, hit our little La Paloma sign there in the corner, and it still has not been fixed. And this is from a recent car accident right in that corner. So there have been multiple accidents every month that have happened there. And one of the other things too that I did not appreciate was the fact that we were not notified about any of these meetings. Apparently, it sounds like there have been 2 other prior meetings about this same complex, and this is the first time we've heard about it. We were not notified. We're less than a block away. And I'm pretty sure our 55 plus community that's going to be right next door to it was not notified. I don't really hear any comments from anyone from there. So that is just another thing that, they failed to do. So unfortunately, I'm opposed to this project. But like I said, I do empathize with the people that are trying to obtain affordable housing. I agree with, building out apartment complexes, but just not in that location. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is Gabby.
Hello.
My name is Gabriela Duran. I'm born and raised in Indio. I've been a resident here, but I'm currently a resident of North Indio, and I am opposed to the project of building 180 units on such a small land. It would create a lot of congestion in the area. It's not an appropriate area to cram so many people into. One of the things about North Indio that I think most of the residents like is that it's a very quiet community, that there isn't a lot of congestion. And even with that, if you ask most people, their car insurance premiums are higher in this area because of the risk of car accidents at 44 and Golf Center. So I think that problem would just get worse with having this large unit there. And I think a lot of the people would say that if you're going to put something there, a small business would be great. Most people would like that. And I'm just opposed to building that large unit next to these single family homes. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes online public comment.
Thank you very much. There was a lot of comments that were made that I think might be good to answer from staff before we let the applicant address them. And
1 second. I'm sorry. We have one more public comment.
Great.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Alejandro Velasquez. I'm a resident in the Montevina community. I have a few concerns. One, when we bought the property, we were explained how the Melrose and property taxes are going to work. We were told that the lots that you guys are referring to were going to be used for commercial use, not residential areas. The fact is, I'm all for low income housing. I appreciate it. I understand, but there's plenty of other spaces available on 44, just in between Monroe and Jackson on the southeast corner. There's already residential apartments there. There's plenty of space where this many units wouldn't have such an impact here. We were told that there was supposed to be some kind of impact study. I've never seen it. The only reason that I've even heard about this meeting was through social media. Which again, I don't appreciate. I've been a resident here in the city of Indio for my entire adult life. I've been paying taxes to the city of Indio my entire adult life. And for us to not even be taken into consideration feels a little insulting. And that's all I really need to say about that.
Thank you. So there was a few questions about the density zoning.
Sure. I apologize for interrupting. Since you're still in the public hearing, open public hearing, staff would recommend that you allow the applicant to respond and then close and then ask staff questions so that the public hearing is closed. Asking questions of staff during the public hearing is usually not the appropriate time. So would recommend that. And also Jessica has the results she requested for the email correspondence.
Actually, that's okay. I don't think we need it. This isn't a tally of like who is approving. Okay. It sounds like everybody wants this project, but there are some concerns about density, about traffic. There are concerns about what it means to be low income. And so if we can go ahead and get the response from the applicant, and then if you could address those.
And then I would recommend, if you are done with the public hearing, close the public hearing at that time.
Great. Thank you.
When in regards to density, so let's talk about density. So the zoning allows up to 40 units an acre. Being 100% affordable community, you're actually allowed by state law to go up to 80% density bonus. So that actually density would be, I don't know, 60 to 70 units an acre, roughly, if I'm not doing my math incorrectly. But we're actually below that. Our density is about 30 units an acre. So, and also height is also for the zoning is permitted up to 4 stories. And with, again, being 100% affordable and state density bonus law, you could go up to another 30 feet above the 4-story, the height requirement for the zoning. So that would take you up to roughly 70 something feet. So we came to a feasible yet, I would say average density for what we're doing in the valley here at a 3-story, walk up, garden style walk up type product in this location. That's how we derived at that density, but it's under what is required, maximum per your code. When it comes to traffic, well, let me have Nicole come up here. Nicole is our CEQA analyst. Her group worked on the traffic part of this.
Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, my name is Nicole Crest. I'm with Terra Nova Planning. We have provided substantial evidence in the initial study that is part of your packet that the traffic generation here will be considerably lower than what was predicted in your general plan EIR for a property of this size at the density that is allowed under the general plan. As Darren indicated, this is below density, and the trip generation for affordable housing is lower on a per unit basis than standard multifamily housing. So traffic generation from this property will actually be less than what was ultimately anticipated in your general plan. And I'm glad to answer any other technical questions you may have.
Any questions regarding the traffic question since she's up there?
Who would we ask the question? It seems like there was a lot of questions regarding public notice. Is there someone who could clarify that for everyone?
Commissioner, we can provide a response on that question once the public hearing is closed as part of your discussion and deliberations.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. I noticed in some of your developments, you've opened it up to veterans. Will you be also earmarking some of those apartments or homes to veterans?
We don't have a first right on this project specifically, but if it's something of a need in the community, we're absolutely open to discussing that for sure.
Okay.
We've done veterans. We just started construction on a project in Temecula. It's first right to families with autistic children. So there's a wide variety. It depends on the need in the area, and we're absolutely open to that.
Thank you.
I had one more question on the heels of that with Commissioner Jackie asking the question. One of the concerns I also heard was people relocating into the city. And with the long list in terms of your waiting list, what opportunities do the city of Indio residents have for first right of refusal on those rental agreements in your community?
Well, we can't, I can't, my attorney is not here, but you can't, there's fair housing laws that we have to abide by. You can't basically shut out an applicant from another area. But what I can tell you is like I said, we have the projects under construction right there on Jefferson and Highway 111. I'm getting many calls per day. I'm getting emails, and they're actually all local residents that are looking for a unit, or my friends looking for a unit, my grandmother's looking for a unit, and they're all coming from the immediate community. And when we, start this construction, another place where the residents actually go to is directly to the city and says, who's building this? Who can we speak to? How do we get on the interest list? And so it actually starts here in the community. The city will typically put up an interest list or phone number, contact information on the website, and they'll contact us or property management, and it goes from there. So I could tell you it does start from the ground up here. And judging by the vacancy rates, I think there's going to be a lot of Indio residents living here.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, we're requesting to take a 5-minute break. And I just want to say thanks to everyone for your public comments. It's great to see you all here because we show up to these meetings sometimes and there's no one here. So thank you all for showing up. But we just need to take a quick 5-minute rest if we can. And
Chair, staff would recommend if you're ready to close the public hearing, close the public hearing, and then you can notify attendees that the commission will be recessing for 5 minutes and be returning approximately at 8:02.
Okay, great. Let's close the public hearing and we'll see you all at 8:02. Thank you. I'm going to the restroom. Yeah, we're busy working all out. So if we could get staff to respond, but staff is not here.
Chair, could we get an extra couple minutes to make sure staff is?
Sure. 10 minutes?
No, just an
I
extra.
thought I
couple
heard 10 minutes. I said,
Sorry,
okay.
just a minute or two.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your patience. Okay, let's resume. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. There were a few questions that we are hoping staff could address, and then maybe we could hear also from our traffic engineer, if possible, about the concerns around traffic in that area. But just to recap some of the concerns, although lots of folks were very much in favor of this type of project, the concerns about this was concerns about density. One gentleman said, we haven't heard the reasons why. So staff, let's hear the reasons why we, moved this project forward in this area.
So the project is within the density allowance as well per the applicant's statements. So they're actually under our threshold. As far as elevation, they are under our threshold as well. And then for the noticing per our Unified Development Code, we mailed out noticing to property owners within 300 feet of the proposed project. We sent out three notices on 3 separate occasions. The most recent notice went out January 5th. And at the last Planning Commission meeting, we did ask for continuance for this project, which was granted to a date and time certain of tonight.
And Chair, I'm going to supplement Mrs. Reif. So the zoning for this property, to remind the commission, is mixed use neighborhood. This zoning is a result of the city's adoption of a general plan, which is a 20-year vision for the city in September 2019. The city then updated its zoning regulations, which this commission reviewed and recommended to the council on. Those zoning regulations became effective in October of 2022. These zoning regulations, as pointed out by Ms. Reif, do allow up to 40 dwelling units to the acre. And as noted, this project is at 30 dwelling units to the acre, so it's in compliance. The height standard is 4 stories or 55 feet. And so it is, again, in compliance with the zoning regulations adopted by the city council. So when we are looking at this project, we are comparing against the applicable zoning regulations that have been adopted by the city council that as staff, we are required to implement. So this project was evaluated under those zoning parameters.
Just to add to that as well, the CEQA document was circulated and posted on our website and on OPR's website as well. And the notice of intent for the city of Indio to adopt the initial study was sent out in October. And during that comment period time, we received no comments.
Thank you. So just for my clarification, we as a city have decided that in this area, this is the type of housing we would like to see. And this was done through a public engagement process and adoption of certain policies that then allowed for this type of project there?
Kind of. I'll expand upon that. So in September 2019, the City Council adopted the General Plan 2040 for the city. That was a result of a 5-year planning effort, and it reflected the goals and visions of the city for the next 20 years. Part of that goals and vision was to establish opportunities for more intense and dense housing in the city. That led to the creation of what we call land use designations and zoning designations to implement that vision. So this property and other properties throughout the city have received what's called a mixed use neighborhood zoning designation. There are other designations that allow different densities throughout the city, but as a general statement, that General Plan 2040, in essence, increased zoning density throughout the city. So that's from a single family residential neighborhoods up to where we're sitting tonight, the density in downtown, which in downtown you're allowed up to 60 dwelling units to the acre. So the general plan 2040 establishes the vision. The zoning regulations implement that vision, and then projects that come in are reviewed against the applicable zoning regulations like this project was. And those findings are contained in the staff report that accompanied the agenda this evening.
Thank you. Is our traffic engineer here? Ms. Roach, could we get someone from our staff to address the traffic? I know that the client came and addressed it, but how did we deal with it and think of the impact there? Yeah.
So, Mr. Mark Greenwood, I'm sorry, Chairperson, can I add one more comment to that, or question rather? Can you also speak to, and I know the concern was also the bridges. I realize the city is working on a plan to obviously upgrade some of the bridges, particularly the Jefferson Bridge and also the Avenue 44 wash. And then secondly, in addition to the question that he's asking, just to also piggyback off of the developers standpoint with respect to, this is actually not a low housing community. It's affordable housing. And I think that needs to be stipulated for residents to understand the difference. Thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Mark Greenwood is available via Zoom to answer any of your questions. He is the city traffic engineer.
Great.
Good evening. I'm Mark Greenwood. I'm the city's consultant
If you could,
engineer. And I'll try to answer some of the traffic questions.
Hi, Mr. Greenwood. You'll need to speak a little louder, please.
Okay, let me turn up my microphone. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Mark Greenwood. I'm the city's consultant transportation engineer, and I'll try to address some of these questions kind of in reverse order. So the question about bridges, I assume at the freeway interchanges, the city is actively working on both the Jackson and Monroe interchanges, but these projects take a shocking amount of time to complete. Jackson is further ahead in the process. It's actually in the environmental and plan stage, and it is funded, so that's good news. But we should probably expect something like 5 years until that freeway overpass is complete and the interchange is improved. Monroe is a little bit further behind, so it'll probably be between 5 and 10 years before that interchange is improved. As far as crossing the wash, that is also in the city's CIP. I don't know the time frame on that one. I haven't looked at that project lately. Moving on to the intersection of 44 and Golf Center, there was an issue with the striping, as someone mentioned. We did recently restripe one of the legs of the intersection to address collisions that were happening at that intersection. And so we're continue to monitor the intersection, but we hope that we have addressed the issue and that the situation will settle down there. If it continues to be a problem, we'll continue to make adjustments. As far as traffic for this project, as Ms. Christ had mentioned, as per the current general plan, the project could actually generate more traffic than this project is proposed, or this project will generate as proposed. Because it conforms to the general plan and is even better than the general plan, we are very comfortable knowing that the street system will be able to handle traffic from this project. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Great, thank you.
Chair, if I could clarify one.
Yes,
Mr. Greenwood used the term CIP. That refers to the city's capital improvement program. That is a document that City Council adopts annually that identifies the public improvement projects that the city will do throughout the city. For example, the Avenue 44 bridge would be identified as a public improvement project that typically sends out, that specifies the type of project to be conducted, the cost of the project, and an approximate time frame. So I just want to make sure that the commission understood that reference in case it's not something you're familiar with.
Thank you for that clarification. I think we can move into deliberations if there's no more questions for staff.
Chair,
I had a question for staff.
Yes.
If we could maybe elaborate a little bit further in regards to the notice, because that seemed like a big issue with a lot of the people who were proposed. You said that a mailer was sent to residents within 300 feet of the project?
Yes, which is in accordance with the Unified Development Code.
Okay, do we know how many homes that was? Because it seems like a lot of people in that neighborhood may be beyond that. Would you say a lot of that neighborhood to the north would be outside of that 300-foot?
I believe there were 62 homes on that list that we mailed notices out to, and we also published the notices online as well as in our discussions at Planning Commission on the 11th.
And if I could add, when we reference 300 feet, that's 300 feet as measured from the edge of the property on all sides. So we measure 300 feet out on all sides, and the ownership information is based on the current records of the Riverside County Assessor's Office. So that's where we get that information from, and that is who we mail to. At that, it does not necessarily always identify the owner, but it does identify the address. Okay. And I believe Commissioner, not to interrupt, but I believe Commissioner Fajardo had a question that we may not have responded to. I just want to make sure he gets his opportunity when it's appropriate.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, and thank you for that. Anything else on that, sir?
No, just.
And that's a very important question, because obviously the next question to that, if I can follow up, how typical is it to also notify HOA, individuals that are obviously the current board of the HOA, to ensure that they also lobby for residents to reply?
So typically the city follows a standard public notification process. If the HOA is a owner that is within the 300-foot notification area, an owner of property, whether it be, for example, common area that's owned by the HOA, they will be noticed by that. The city does not do extraordinary noticing to HOAs normally. And that's not something that we're legally required to do, that is specified in our noticing requirements per the adopted codes that were approved by the city council.
Thank you, Kevin. And then also I realized that there was some concern from some, not many, and I think we can all say that we're all in agreement that affordable housing is a requirement and is a fundamental right to every citizen in this country. My question is this. Obviously, there are some that are confused with affordable housing versus low-income housing. And it's my understanding that this is an affordable housing community and project. Can you just touch on the difference for the sake of all of us here, to ensure that we are clear on that? Thank you.
Commissioner Fajardo, you ask a very complicated question, which I will try to distill down. There are terms that are thrown about all the time: affordable housing, low-income housing, attainable housing. So in the simplest description, there are income categories that are established by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And those income categories are typically broken down into extremely low income, very low income, and moderate income. And those are then looked at percentages of what is called the area median income. And it's typically based on what the area median income of Riverside County is, which in this instance is right around $87,000. So when a affordable housing developer is looking to do a project, typically they are going to be looking at these income categories. And when they go and pursue state funding, which is typically one of the main vehicles for funding these projects, they are presenting a project that is going to get funded at different levels. And that's in part how they get scored. We have identified, as I mentioned earlier in the evening, our regional housing need assessments, or RHNA, is that 7,812 housing units, of which 2,963, or 38%, needs to be affordable housing. That is further broken down into those categories. And so when we are meeting the need of the 2,963, it's further broken down based on those income categories. And the units that are assigned through a project like this to extremely low income, very low income, and moderate are then counted in terms of the city's, again, reporting. City does not build housing. What we do is we plan for housing. And then we have both market rate projects, whether they be single family or multifamily. And we have what we call affordable, or we like to use the term attainable. That's a term that many are using now. But it is a way of identifying based on income, the type of housing that is needed based on the income categories. And typically the extremely low income is the most challenging type of housing to provide. And you're talking about individuals that can make substantially little money and may have the highest need for housing. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Kevin. That was pretty clear. Appreciate that.
Just to add to that, attachment 6 of the staff report also visually shows the number of units, bedrooms, AMI for those units and those thresholds as well.
And in the presentation, it seemed like the income range was $26,000 to $70,000. So someone who makes $70,000 could potentially also qualify to be able to access this housing. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Kendra. Okay, if there are no more questions, we can go into deliberations. Any comments? No?
We're going to talk. Who's going to go first? Me?
Yeah, Gloria.
Okay, where do we start? First of all, I want to let the residents on the north side, those that have bought their homes, worked hard to be where they are, that we do hear you and we hear your concerns. Based on a lot of rules and the way that things are now, I think that this project, as big as it is, like they said, it could have been bigger. I do think that the developer tried to do a good job of keeping the property closer to the street, not closer to the homes. Even the homes that are the closest, which are close, and I can understand the discomfort. They've put parking, they've put some setbacks, and I also think it is a quality development. They're going to bring in services for people, and hopefully people that live here may not live there forever, right? It could be an entry-level home for a young family or a single person or an elderly person who's living on limited income. I think that if the property is managed properly, and I think that this developer has all the pieces in play to do that, I think it could be a very good addition to the city. It is different. It is definitely not something we normally see on the north side, and I completely understand everyone's concerns. But I also understand that we are in a dire situation where the need for affordable housing, attainable housing, has become extremely challenging, and it just doesn't seem to be getting better quickly. I mean, even with this project, if you look at the timeline, it's going to be 3 years from now before people can actually move in. So if we don't start to work on this problem at this point, I don't know how we're ever going to be able to solve it. But I do also believe that we need a variety of housing. So, we need, and unfortunately, as a city, we don't get to say we want you to build this here. It is where someone finds land, where it works, where they can find the financing and they can bring it in. So there's nothing, we can't just say build it here and don't build it there. Is it a perfect place? No. Do I have concerns for the residents that are immediately to the west? Yes. But do I feel that the majority of the positives outweigh the negatives? I do. And I commend the developer for not maxing out all of the allowances that are allowed by law when they build these types of communities. And I do feel for the residents that are struggling to find a place to live where they're not spending 50, 60% of their income on just their rent. So I don't have a lot of questions. I did go through this in detail. I asked questions of staff before the meeting. I did as much of my homework as I could, because I knew this was going to be an interesting meeting with a lot of people feeling, and they have every right to feel the way they feel. And I knew it was going to take some time. So I want to thank staff for doing a great job with, putting together something that we could understand, for the developer for bringing in something that I think is a quality, affordable development. And in the past, we've seen developments that are not anywhere near this type of quality. So that's kind of where I'm feeling at this point, and I look forward to hearing from my fellow commissioners.
Please. I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Franz. As a lifelong resident of Indio, having also lived in apartment communities with my folks growing up. In fact, we lived in smoke tree apartments for quite some time before, my dad's first house was getting built. Every American's dream is home ownership, and providing an opportunity for appropriate shelter I think is a fundamental right, as I stated earlier. But more importantly, the opportunity to listen to both sides. And I think that that's something that as a commission, I can truly say that we've looked at this. And I know each of us have done their homework. We've studied the plans, clearly appreciated the developer for their presentation, staff's work on this as an opportunity to ensure that we do provide attainable housing for all residents in Indio and those who choose to relocate to our beautiful and wonderful city. And I realize that there are some complications. It may be something that I remember learning in college, this term NIMBYism, not in my backyard syndrome. And I understand that for many, I do. Having lived in both apartments and housing tracts, Section 8 housing, living in rent control areas like San Francisco, I realize that those are challenges for a lot of us. But more importantly, what's the greater need? An opportunity to provide fundamental housing, which should be a fundamental right for everybody, and an opportunity for students. And I'm thinking students because that's my background, education. The number one plight we always had was not having an opportunity for our kids to do their homework, a place to study, a place that's safe, that's decent, that provides, all the luxuries of what a rental community like this can provide. And so I look at that through the lens of our future, and I realize that there are complications. We may have challenges that are presented to us, but that's what we do as residents. We come together to resolve these issues and mitigate, these challenges and come up with strategies, work alongside staff, our police department, city officials to ensure that these problems are addressed. And I, for one, as being a resident of this city, do fully and faithfully trust that our community of people, along with our staff, will do just that. And that said, just wanted to thank everybody for their comments. I do appreciate the emotion that people brought to this, and I realize that it can be a very difficult decision. But it's also something to be said to be on the right side of right. And I think this is an opportunity for us to really consider what it means to be on the right side of right when we make a decision later this evening. So thank you to staff. Thank you to the developer. Thank you to all the residents for sharing your comments. Really do appreciate you all. Muchísimas gracias.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Indio is one of the largest cities here in the Coachella Valley. And I always talk about being proud of having 5 generations of my family here in the city. And Indio was a city at one time where we could live and work and play, the city of festivals. But I heard some folks saying, well, this is not the right place. This is the right place. This is the right time. There is no better place than this place. And I understand from talking with developers how hard it is to pencil out and find a location and get it approved and make sure it's approved by the state and it's correctly zoned. So I understand how hard it is to find a location to have a great product like Pacific Properties and be able to serve the community. And so we're talking about, we're talking about our veterans, our seniors, our students that need this. I have family members that are going and finishing up nursing school, and they can't afford to live in their own city that they grew up in. So, and these are not like low income wages. These are like entry level positions. We need attainable housing for our grocery store workers, our casino workers, our correctional officers. So, and our families, our hardworking families. So, with that, I would like to thank Mr. Barbarian for again coming to our city with your product, and I've done a lot of my homework and watching your other developments in the city of Palm Desert. I really would like to see you earmark some of those for our veterans or for our seniors. But again, I agree with my fellow commissioners and would like to see this project move forward.
Appreciate everyone coming out and giving statements on both sides. I'm born and raised in Indio, lived part of my life in La Quinta as well, but My mother was a single mother of 5 that also needed affordable housing to raise her children in. And unfortunately, there's 2-parent families in the Coachella Valley and especially Indio who can't afford, a 2 or 3 bedroom home or apartment for their children on a single income, or, sometimes even 2 incomes. Many single people have to work 2 jobs just to afford housing out here in the Coachella Valley. So I think something like this is desperately needed. Not only do we have an obligation to the state and to our community to provide these, I think when an opportunity like this comes before us to provide this for our community, I think that, as Commissioner Fajardo said, we have to be on the right side of right. I wonder to myself, if it's the label of it being affordable housing, if that's what's bothering, some of the residents in the area, or if it is traffic concerns. I've lived in several areas of Indio, and I do a lot of business in this area of Indio, and I would say that traffic is probably not as concerning in this area as it is in many others. So that being said, I think that Pacific West has a great program. I think that this property is going to be managed, and not just anyone's going to be moving in here. These are going to be proud people who are looking for a nice place to live in their own community, and I welcome this project.
Thank you. And I'll just say that, to me, there was really 2 concerns that were stated, right? One is the need for this type of project. And we heard folks saying, I'm struggling. I live here, but I'm having to move out. A young woman was saying, I have to leave the city because I cannot afford to live here any longer. Women crying, saying, by March, I have to find new housing because I don't know where I'm going to take my family. And so there is a very serious issue that we as a city and as a state are facing when it comes to housing. And I want to say that all the folks that came out here, both sides, I think we're doing something right, because if we have this much civic engagement, then that means that we as a city care about where we live. And all of this new development that's coming in, we've been preparing for it. It's been years in the making. And I just want to reassure the residents that came out and were not supportive of this project. This is the direction that the city of Indio is moving, because we need to meet a demand. And we are really trying hard out here to bring you. I'm not trying, the staff really is trying. And I just want to commend staff, the applicant, everyone that's involved in this, because you are addressing a problem that we are all facing. And so I just want to say thank you. The other concern was traffic. And I met with Kendra and Kevin prior to this meeting. I think we all did our homework. And I'm so glad to hear. And I said the lived experience might be very different from the regulations, from what's on paper. And that is okay, because sometimes we need to be more directly involved as decisions are being made. So this is really an invitation for all of us to make sure that we're coming to all of the planning commission meetings, that as decisions and planning documents are being made, we are putting down our concerns, our voices, and that we are the ones that are deciding the way that we're shaping the city. And so this is really, to me, was a very successful meeting, because we got to hear from all of you, and we hear you, and we hear all of you, and we want to make sure that this city is the best city. A gentleman said Indio was the sore eye or something like that, and I resent that. I grew up in Indio. I've been very proud to live in Indio, but I've been part of the folks that get to move all the time because we can't afford to live in one place, or rent goes up. Rent here is like $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't own my home. I'm looking for an apartment right now. I kid you not. It is the most difficult thing. And I will be rent burdened if I move to an apartment out here. And that to me is a problem that we as a community need to address. So I invite those folks that were not in support to come out more often and help us address this issue in a way that it's going to be beneficial for everyone. And I want to commend the applicant You were very thoughtful about promoting active transportation, putting bike lanes. That was not necessarily a thing that you needed to do, but you did this because you're trying to address that people need to move and we need to connect communities. And instead of dividing each other, we need to make more connections. And I think we are in a point in our city where we are trying to move that forward. So those are all my comments, and we can entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to pass resolution number 2049, a resolution of the city of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, California, conditionally approving design review case number 2208508 for construction of a 180-unit multifamily project and tenant amenities located on a 6.6 acre vacant lot of land, and adopting the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the project pursuant CEQA guidelines 15074.
Second.
Just for clarification, on the slide, there's an additional
Oh, I'm
component.
sorry. We add that. You want to put it back up so I can see it? An inclusion of a condition of approval requiring the applicant to modify the final site plan demonstrating compliance to table 2.03.03-2 of the Unified Development Code, specifying a maximum 25-foot front setback.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Asiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Rodriguez Ceja.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations to us all. We'll move on to item 5.3.
Pero no estamos de acuerdo con qué va a hacer. Son la ciudad de Indio, tú también sos la ciudad de Indio.
Can we move on to our next item, please?
Y si nos esforzamos, también es porque nos esforzamos.
Si quiere dejar su información, yo le llamo. Sí.
Tengo mis
Sí, yo.
todo. Y los seniors no piensan también en el rancho Casablanca. Seniors, al rato nos van a estar, si así todos los del norte y lo van y los roban.
Mire, si estamos ahí, nos están robando. Con todo el barrio. Tengo 15 años viviendo en la alianza ahí, no han parado los problemas. Sí, ya me voy.
Gracias. Okay. Can we move to item 5.3? Do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Planning Commission Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. The item before you this evening is a action item pertaining to a previous approval that went before this Planning Commission and the City Council several years ago. Started in 2007 and came back in 2009, and then ultimately came back to you. And I'll give you the chronology. But first of all, let's start out where this is located. So back in November of 2022, you as a Planning Commission approved one of the first projects under the Highway 11 Corridor Specific Plan called Madison Point. This is 4 parcels located southwest of Highway 111 and Madison intersection. And these parcels of land were approved for a project called Madison Point. As you may remember, this project is a mixed-use development. It was comprised of a senior housing apartment complex, a hotel, and several retail pads. So that project was approved via a master plan development permit under the Highway 11 Corridor Specific Plan. So we got to go backwards to go forwards, though. So as I mentioned, there were 4 parcels of land. Beginning in 2007, there was what's called a project master plan approval granted for this property. Now, project master plan approval was an approval that the city council had ultimately adopted as part of the General Plan 2020. In essence, it was a form of master planning of a site, and it was an approval that was granted, and it guided the development of that property at that time. This was a project called Indio Heritage Marketplace. That project then came back for modification in 2009 and was called Madison Crossing. So Madison Crossing was never developed. Fast forward to the present time, and in September of 2022, the Highway 11 Corridor Specific Plan was adopted. And then subsequent to that, as I mentioned, this commission ultimately reviewed and approved a Madison Point project. But this project master plan, because it was adopted via ordinance, still applies to the property. So the property owner requested, following the approval of Madison Point, that the project master plan approval be removed. That, in essence, clears up any regulatory conflict between that project master plan approval and the master development permit that you granted. So this evening, you're being asked to, in essence, do some housekeeping. And the housekeeping action is to recommend to the city council that this project master plan approval be removed from the property. It's kind of a if you want to call it a cleaning of the title on the property. It clouds the title right now because there's 2 levels of approval on the property. So working with the applicant, we determined that this request was reasonable and appropriate. It meets the test in the sense that it's compliant with the General Plan 2040. And the reason is because it's removing that regulatory prior action that was done under the previous general plan. So it's removing that shadow, if you will. It's compliant with the Highway 11 Corridor Specific Plan because, again, it's removing that shadow and it's allowing the project that you approved to be able to go forward without that shadow. That regulatory conflict that I keep talking about will be resolved. And then from a CEQA standpoint, it basically is what we call commonsensical. This action by itself does not lead to development. Your action back in November will lead to development, and you'll see future applications coming back to you for design review when they determine what the actual project's proponents are going to look like, whether it's the senior housing project or the hotel. So, for example, before you will come the applications for design review for those projects. So it's just, in essence, kind of a cleanup action you're being asked to do this evening. So with that, staff is recommending that you approve the resolution, the full title, and I'm not suggesting you all read this unless you want to. But generally the gist is approve the resolution. It will recommend to City Council, who will have to take final action via ordinance action to remove this shadow on the title, if you will, and clear up any potential regulatory conflict. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, then we can open up the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that want to speak on this item?
There are none.
Okay, then let's close the public hearing and go into deliberation. Any comments? If not, then we can entertain a motion.
I mean, I don't have any comments and I'm more than willing to make a motion.
All right.
So can we put it back on the screen, please? make sure I have the right version. There we go. So we would like to approve resolution number 2050, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, California, recommending to the City Council of the City of Indio, California, the termination of the Madison Crossing Project Master Plan applicable to accessor parcel numbers 600-240-005, 600-240-016, 200-240-020, and 200-240-021, and make a determination that said action qualifies for the common sense exemption pursuant to the section 15061B3 of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment, and also making a determination that said action is consistent with the provisions of California Government Code Section 15183, projects consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning, because said termination supports the previously approved Madison Point mixed-use project on the same parcels of land as the Madison Crossing Project Master Plan.
Can we get a second? Can we get a roll call, please?
I'll second. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Asiano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Rodriguez Seja.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to action item 6.1. It's a staff report on storage facility study.
So this is an agendized item. What if you would like to, I would recommend this. If you are coming to the lateness of the hour, so to speak, there are a couple of things that you can consider. One is you can proceed and take the staff report, engage in the conversation, accept any public comment. The other is you could continue this item to a date certain. However, because this was a noticed agendized item, we would recommend that you accept any public comment that may be present this evening. And we will also advise them of any continued discussion on this. This is an action item, so ultimately the commission could decide to take action. So it's really your decision this evening. We do know this is an item that is important to the commission. The next regular meeting of the commission is February 8th. At this time, we anticipate that we may have a couple of agenda items, but not an overly large agenda that evening. So it's within the purview of the commission, but definitely we would recommend that you accept any public comments this evening before you take any continuance action vote.
Thank you. Is everyone comfortable with that? Then, yeah, okay, then let's open the public hearing. Are there any comments?
Chair, this is not a public hearing item. It's an action item. So what I would recommend is that you provide staff a brief opportunity to provide an overview, just to set the stage for this. This is a public meeting that is being recorded, and then at that time accept the public comment, but withhold any discussion of this until the next meeting, provided that you take motion action to continue.
Great. Thank you. Please.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Nico Gatron, planning technician with the Community Development Department. As you're aware, the City of Indio Storage Facility Study was presented at the January 11th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting and revealed that there were a significant presence of storage facilities within the city. Specifically, 15 active facilities are currently in operation, with an additional 4 pending, 3 having already completing their necessary entitlements. I would also like to add that it came to our attention that there is a 5th pending facility that has already met entitlements and has begun obtaining building permits for their phase 2 of their project, which is located on Dr. Carrion. Further, there were 7 inquiries for new facilities received within the past year alone, with an additional 2 inquiries received since that presentation on January 11th. This notable concentration of storage facilities within the city, in comparison to the 9 facilities directly bordering the City of Indio, may warrant further consideration and potential implementation of stricter regulations to manage their development and presence. Staff has identified the following options that the commission may take action on. Option 1, take no action and no changes are made to the current zoning. Option 2, take no action and direct staff to prepare additional information for further discussion on topics identified by the Planning Commission regarding current zoning regulations. Option 3, recommend to the City Council that there be amendments to the city's Unified Development Code to prohibit all types of storage facilities within the municipal limits of the City of Indio. Option 4, recommend to the City Council that there be amendments to the city's Unified Development Code to limit the number of locations or concentrations of all types of storage facilities within the municipal limits of the City of Indio. And option 5, adopt a moratorium consistent with the statutory provisions to allow the council, commission, and staff further time to analyze the regulation of all storage facilities within the municipal limits of the City of Indio while not allowing any new applications for these facilities during the effective period of the moratorium. Thank you for your time.
And Chair, if I could just quickly clarify. So the last item, option 5, the adoption of the moratorium, the commission has no authority to adopt a moratorium. Your only authority would be to recommend to the City Council the possible consideration of adoption. So I just want to clarify that that's a recommendation only as well.
Okay, I'm just sorry about not knowing the process. Do we just open for comments now?
So at this time, because this is an action item, you can invite members of the public to come up and speak. As always, we encourage members of our public to fill out a comment card. If they haven't filled it out before they come up and speak, we would ask them to fill it out and give it to our commission secretary. So at this time, it'd be appropriate to ask for any individuals typically first in person, then followed by any virtual commenters.
Great. Do we have any?
Yes. I was going to say, if you also look at the options, option 2 would be taking no action and just directing us to continue to prepare further information. Therefore, that would give the commission enough time so we can move forward with another date.
I think we can, if there are any comments from the public, we would like to hear them now. And if there are any public, yes, sir, please.
I don't want to belabor, so I could comment when you continue, Kevin, if that's okay.
We might make a decision.
We'd like to hear okay. I'll make some quick work of this. First and foremost, my name is Polo Doria, former resident City of Indio. We moved here in 1963. Just to comment on your meeting before. Congratulations. Well done. I have been to literally hundreds and hundreds of planning commission meetings. I'm in the business of real estate development throughout the desert. And I was formerly sat in your chair 30 years ago as a member of the planning commission. So I've seen these meetings. I've seen the feeling, the fervor. That was so well done. You've done extremely well. These kinds of decisions are hard. Right decisions are hard decisions. So you did very well. Congratulations. Before you tonight is a potential moratorium. That's a scary word. I'm in the real estate business. I'm in the business of drawing industry to industrial areas in the city. I have a couple of projects involved in the queue here. I guess my point is, the bottom line is that the city shouldn't be in the moratorium business. Private industry will regulate itself. You did a study, you did a supply side study, but you didn't do a demand side study, okay? Basically what's going to happen is that even though projects are proposed, doesn't mean they're going to get built, okay? The economy and the way real estate development works is that there's often surges, and then there's a kind of a filling up of spaces, and there's kind of a letting down. So just because things are proposed doesn't mean they're going to get built. They're not going to get financed. The key is financing. In financing, they'll do studies, but what's the absorption rate of these things? What can be justified economically? What I'm saying is the private sector will work it out. Don't get in the business of moratorium. That's not a good signal to send out. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any comments online?
There are none.
I do have one thing that I would like to add. We did receive some information from some business owners about their availability at their sites. We did not include that in the study because we did not get it from every storage facility, just because some did not feel comfortable sharing that information. Therefore, we didn't include that in our presentation to you because it wouldn't have been a fair and accurate analysis of the data.
Thank you. So do we do deliberation now, or do we just talk it out and see what we want to do?
So I think for the commission's clarification, you have this as an action item. You've offered the opportunity for public comment. You have 5 potential actions you could take before you. A 6th action is if you are not ready or wanting to engage in further discussion on this item, you could continue it to a date certain, which would be February 8th, 2023, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. And at that time, you could discuss it if the commission felt that due to the lateness of the hour or the desire to think more on this, you need to state your reason on the record. So you actually have, in addition to the 5 options presented to you this evening, you have 1 additional option of a continuance.
Okay. Please.
Chairperson, I'd like to ask if we can call for a continuance, only because appreciate the public comment. And I think that there needs to be some study done on the demand side. And I think we attempted to do that, Kendra, if I'm not mistaken, with outreach to these facilities. And for whatever reasons, proprietary information, whatnot, some felt uncomfortable in providing that. I think that's a metric that we need to know before we decide anything, in my opinion.
My only question is like, what's the timeline for that? Like, how long are we going to give these folks to respond back to our requests? Where if we keep it open, and it seems like every other month we're getting 2 requests or more of storage facilities. So I'd be comfortable knowing what the timeline is for that.
Perhaps I will start, and then Kendra can respond further. So coincidentally, I did receive a offer from a party to share their market study. And so I will make that request. I do need to make sure that they're comfortable doing that in a public forum, because this would be a public meeting. And so that would be provided by a new operator who will be coming into the city, who has done a market study. So they offered to share that with city staff. I can see if they'd be willing to provide that more publicly to the Planning Commission. I can't commit to that this evening. So absent that, doing a demand analysis, I think out of fairness to the current workload of the team, I don't see that would take anything less than probably 60 days. Because we would have to do a fair amount of analysis. And again, access to information, as pointed out by Kendra, may be very limited. So it may be an incomplete analysis, but that market study may shed light on some of the questions you have about demand if we are able to get access to it.
Yeah, I think we should see what the consensus is. So I'm curious to hear from everyone.
I just have one more question. I apologize. I was skimming through the minutes or the notes from the last meeting. How many do we, again, I apologize. How many do we have in these, and I believe they're like employment zones?
Light industrial zone is what I think.
Workforce ones, I'm sorry. The workforce, how many proposed, or how many do we have based on your chart you just sent out? How many of those are in workforce zones?
So basically, the majority of these facilities are located in areas that have been designated for more industrial use. Commissioner, workplace employment is the designation, both the general plan and zoning designation. Zoning designation is light industrial and heavy industrial. Workplace employment is the general plan designation. So the majority is, and that was prior to the new zoning coming into effect. The majorities have located through the previous zoning regulations in more industrial areas of our city. So I would say that of the 15 that currently exist in the city, all but 1 that I can think of, maybe 2 actually, are in industrial areas of the city. And then we have the 5 that are pending, have all been proposed and or processed, including before this commission in these industrial areas. So primarily it focuses on these uses are focused on the more industrial areas of our city that we've also set aside for employment generation. So that's the debate, if you will, or the issue that we've discussed with you at the previous meeting about consumption of employment generating land for low employment generating uses.
Yeah, please.
Can we pull up the options again? I have a question. I have to remember which option it was a part of. So one of the possible things is to do amendments to the city's Unified Development Code to prohibit them in certain areas. There's also the option to amend the development code to limit the number or location or concentration. So if I remember correctly, one of the things we talked about is that we do not have a lot of industrial or commercial space left, right, in the city.
The city has a total of 519 acres in the city that have been designated for light industrial, heavy industrial use. Roughly, I would say about 50% of that has been consumed, and a significant portion of that is for these types of facilities. So absent any annexations of land to the city that would be identified for industrial or more industrial land uses, that 519 acres is the amount of acres we have available.
Okay, so yeah, moratorium scares me. I agree with some of the comments that were made that, the market does, take care of some things, but I'm also worried that so much of our limited space is being consumed by storage units or storage facilities. They don't generate a lot of jobs. They don't generate a lot of tax revenue or fees that go to the city. And I'm really concerned that our neighbors are not accepting this many storage unit facilities, and yet we have so many in our city. So I think because it's late, and I would love to see if we can get that demand study done. And I'd like to do a little more homework when I'm not this tired, because I am a little done for the day. I would feel comfortable moving this to our next meeting to take a little more time with it, because I think it's very important. And if we're going to make a recommendation to City Council, which is what most of these are, it's just a recommendation, I want to be real clear as to why we're making this recommendation and what we see the positive impacts or negative impacts, whatever, of doing something or nothing would be. And I don't think I have the energy to do that tonight.
And if I could just add one point of information, I would be remiss, but the commission may remember when you were working on the Unified Development Code, you did recommend language to the City Council that did potentially place some limitations around these facilities by requiring either retail or office uses fronting them. And the council did accept that recommendation, except for they did provide my position with the authorization. If based on a market study done by a qualified individual, it could be shown that putting office or retail uses in a certain location did not make market sense. For example, next to the Valley Sanitary District sewer plant. Then I was given the authority by council to exclude them from that requirement. But you did take one step already in the Unified Development Code in trying to address the low sales tax and low employment generation impacts of these uses. So I just want to put that on the record to remind you that that is something this commission already did. So in terms of amending the Unified Development Code, you've gone down this path once before. You could look at that as an option, along with any of the other options that were just up on the screen.
Mr. Isiano?
I agree. I'd like to look at some more of the demand studies and take some more time to kind of not rush through things if we're going to possibly make a recommendation to City Council.
Okay, that's three of us. So let's go ahead and move this agenda item to the next.
You actually have to take motion action to continue it to, if you're going to continue it to a date certain, you need to take motion action. You need to identify the date, time, and location of that continuance.
When is our next meeting?
Our next meeting is February 8th.
At 6 p.m. Gotcha. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to move this action item to next planning meeting, Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
Can we get a roll call, please?
And I apologize, but just to confirm, in the City Council Chambers, 150 Civic Center Mall.
Yes, of course.
Indio, California. Thank you.
That's what I was talking about.
We're hoping. Did Yeah, can we get roll call, please?
Commissioner Eciano,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Rodriguez Seja.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Moving on to study session items, there are none. Are there any commissioner comments? Oh, yes, Kevin, are you gonna?
Go ahead.
Okay, any commissioner comments? No? Okay, any staff items?
Excuse me, I was going to give you some reports on 2022 building activity, but in the interest of your desire to take a rest, we will put that on the next agenda to share with you. I think it's information you would like to hear, along with some other information we'll share, but obviously in the interest of time and noting the late hour, that can hold. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks to everyone here. Okay, so then I think we can adjourn to the next planning meeting, Wednesday, February 8th, 2023, right here at 6 p.m. Thank you, everyone.